Hey, welcome to Geek Freaks. I am Frank, and I'm joined by Jonathan.
Well, hello.
We've got a bunch to talk about today. We got some crazy stuff going down with Marvel's TV stuff. PlayStation 5 Slim was announced, and so much more. Normally, I would start with a Geek Box, Jonathan, but there's breaking news literally 5 minutes before we started recording, and I got to tell you about it. What live-action show would you want the most?
Live-action gargoyles. I mean, we already have Avatar.
Just announced live-action gargoyles in the works for Disney Plus.
Oh, that's gonna be dope. Oh my god. So do you know what do you know about it so far?
Like literally, this is breaking news, but James Wan's working on it. So it sounds like it's going to be kind of a little bit of a horror bend to it a little bit. I mean, understandably, especially if like you're one of the humans.
Yeah, it's got to be a little darker because it's not going to be animated. It's going to be live action, so it's going to be scarier than a cartoon would be.
I'm hoping it's like Werewolf by Midnight that they did for Marvel, where it's like horror in principle alone, but not like actual jump scare.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's got a really good team behind it, and we don't know a lot else about it.
Does it have? Well, you probably don't know, but the writer, the original writer, who's also doing the comic books now, I'm hoping they brought him along into writing this live action series.
I don't know if he's on there, but I know he's talked about making sure that he's on everything Gargoyles, so I wouldn't be surprised.
That'd be foolish to leave him behind, really.
Yeah, I can't imagine them not. They already work with him a lot. Greg Weisman, by the way, is his name.
That's it, yeah.
Gary Doberman is going to be writing the script for it, but I think he's going to be working with Greg. Just makes sense, especially since Disney already backs his comic books. So, I mean, like, why would you not? And then it's going to be produced by Atomic Monster, which is James Wan's production company, and they do a lot of horror movies like Annabelle and stuff like that. So it's probably going to be a little bit of a monster feel, which I'm on board with.
I want to be on set. Like, if it takes more funding to make this produce faster too, where can I link my bank account?
I hope this gets the love that Star Wars and Marvel gets, because it deserves it for sure. Don't Willow this. Like, as much as Willow we were hyped for, it just flopped.
Yeah, that's a shame too. I don't know. I can't figure out what in the recipe was wrong. It just didn't work.
Yeah, that happens. Marvel's running into that a lot right now.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Man, that's exciting though. I can't wait. That's dope.
Well, crazy breaking news, like 5 minutes before. Good thing we delayed our recording, because what always happens is we record on a Sunday night, good shit comes out on Monday, and I'm like, no, just wait.
Right.
So, yeah. All right, guys, let us know what you guys think about Gargoyles and who you'd want to be playing each of these roles. We've actually submitted a fan casting before, so maybe Disney's using it, in which case, just cut us a small check. We'd be okay with that. That'd be great.
2%. That's all I need.
2%. Oh, my God. Yeah, seriously, that would make me happy. All right, let's go ahead and go back to that Geek Box. Let's go ahead and pull one out real quick.
Wait.
What would you keep on a utility belt? You're the new Batman. What are you going to keep on that utility belt?
Keep on the utility belt. I mean, he already keeps some pretty smart stuff. Like the grappling hook would be kind of a go-to.
I would like to have like freeze balls that uses the technology that Mr. Freeze has.
Yeah.
So you can like throw those down and freeze people in place, because I think that's like non-lethal and very useful.
We've seen a lot of shows like a shrink ray. Like, I think that would be smart, because you can just miniaturize anything you need and take it with you, and then re-largify it.
Yeah.
If that's a word. It's not a word.
Largify it. No, it's in the books. I'm sure I've seen it.
Gosh, I don't know. Yeah, what would you keep on your utility belt? That's as many gadgets as you can fit, I guess. I mean, I'm a hoarder, so I would have the double-decker belt with like 17 different gadgets on there.
What like nowadays, like the most important thing really is a smartphone.
Yeah.
And just make sure you can Google stuff.
Yeah. Can you put what's his butler's name?
Alfred.
Can you put Alfred on his belt? Like, so you could just take him with him. It'd be like a little backpack on the back end of his belt.
How has no AI company used the name Alfred yet? Like, that should totally be it. Like, Jarvis and Alfred. Come on, make those two AIs already.
Yeah. I wonder if it's been patented to be used as a consultant,
It's just a... Well, yeah.
I know it's like, just a name.
If you considered a servant, then yeah, probably.
Yeah, but like Jeeves, Ask Jeeves was a thing early on. So if you tried to make a copy of that now, it probably would be patented to some extent.
Somebody please bring back Ask Jeeves. That's so old school.
Yeah, most people listening probably have no idea what that is.
Well, back in the day, for you young kids, the idea of Googling something was so new that we had to like phrase it as a question.
Yeah.
If you need to know anything from the internet, you could just ask Jeeves, and he was this butler, like seemingly waiting for you. And I remember when I was young, it almost appeared as if there was literally a guy that was going to answer your questions, not a search engine. So
And they had to do that to make it make sense to people, I think, because
Yeah.
they didn't understand, wait, the computer can tell me the answers? The internet, this network of wires is going to give me information? That doesn't make any sense. There's got to be somebody on the other side. Maybe they're in Bangladesh, I don't know, but somebody over there
Someone's
has the
got a
answer.
bunch of encyclopedias and they're ready to go. Yeah.
They got a Beauty and the Beast library. They're sliding that ladder back and forth. They're going to be quick. But I think of Wreck-It Ralph 2, where there's I don't think they call it Google, but there's the little like mini character that he can ask questions to, and he like gives them answers right away.
Yeah, that's basically Ask Jeeves on steroids right there.
Yeah.
So that's going to be on your utility belt then, right? The little dude from Wreck-It Ralph then.
Yep, for sure.
All right, let's move into the news. We just got a brand new Mario voice. It was finally revealed. Have you had a chance to listen to the new Mario voice?
Yeah, actually saw it on one of my favorite TikTok channels.
Yeah? What'd you think of it?
Yeah, it actually, what I did, and I suggest everybody do this, especially when you watch that TikTok or when you're going to hear them side by side, don't look at the screen. Just put the phone to your ear. I could not differentiate them. I'm sure if I really tried, or if I could see which was which, then maybe in my mind I'd be able to, identify the different sounds or whatever, but it really sounds really close. And I'm glad that they're trying to stick to the original sound, because this would be the time to let's rebrand Mario and make him sound different and stuff like that. But I feel like that would be kind of an injustice to the original voice actor who, they treated well, and he was so, iconic and did good at what he was doing. So they don't want to after he passes or after, just kind of get rid of that voice. Yeah,
Charles Martinet was the original voice. He's done it for 30 years.
Yeah.
And so he's just kind of retired in a way, and he's kind of just
he's going to be bouncing around at conventions and stuff, right? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
That's cool.
So it's good that he didn't fully go away, and he put out a message giving the guy blessing. I'm excited to see the future of Mario is in good hands. He also does. This guy's going to also be doing, and his name, by the way, is sorry about that, Kevin Afghani. He's going to also be the voice for Luigi. So he's both characters, which is I didn't know that. I don't think Charles was. That's just pretty good, fiscally, to be able to pay one guy. But yeah, I think it sounds really good. I know Rick and Morty that just came out with the new voice actors, and my God, my Instagram is full of people just not happy about that. And I don't think Morty definitely sounds good, but Rick does sound off. He's not drunk and belligerent enough to be Rick, which is a shame. But
yeah, but you got to give it a little time too. I'm sure if you listen to season 1, he wasn't the same voice as season 4 or something like that. So give the guy a little bit of time to step into the shoes.
Yeah.
Well, especially a lot of shows we watch.
Go ahead.
A lot of the shows we watch the first couple seasons don't feel right, but then they break in. The cast gets to know each other better. The writers get to understand what the actors can do better, and it just gels. So yeah, you got to give this new actor a little bit of time to fit into that skin.
Interestingly enough, too, is Rick and Morty is using 2 actors now for those roles, when Justin Roiland used to do both roles himself.
Yeah.
And so that's also kind of a new thing too, that it's 2 different actors, and we'll see how that. I wonder if they're doing that so that the characters can grow separately a little bit more. Or if one of them goes out for whatever reason, like a Justin Roiland situation where some of them has a sex scandal, you don't lose the entire show.
Yeah,
You just replace one actor.
Keeps a little bit of the cohesion.
I hate on Solar Opposites, which is also Justin Roiland voicing that one and creator. I love the show, but in the newest season, instead of trying to find somebody that sounds close to it, they just went with he got hit in the throat, now he sounds British.
Yeah.
Totally different voice. It drives me bananas.
But how does that work for the show? Does that not feel like the same show now with him having just a completely different voice?
It doesn't. I've watched that season a few times trying to get used to it. It doesn't seem the same anymore. It's definitely not the same show, which is a shame because it's a really good show. But they even joke around with it. He gets hit in the voice. They say, "Oh no, your voice has changed now," and it's never going back. So stop asking or something like that. And kind of just to the Instagram people. But man, it's a shame. It's totally not the same.
Does his character, the mannerisms, and the way he speaks, does it seem similar, even though his voice sounds different, or does his whole character kind of changed?
Because the voice is so different. It goes from basically Rick to a British guy. It just makes the mannerisms feel different. It makes things feel more proper or something like that.
Okay, yeah,
yeah.
That's a shame. Yeah, to me, it's if the voice sounds a little different, if going from sounding like us to sounding like, Daniel or somebody who's still generally sounds similar, just a different voice, obviously. But as long as they can capture the mannerisms and the acting part in the voice of how that character emotes and everything, I think that is a lot more significant. But if they really can't kind of line those up too, then you're better off just killing off the character and making it about a new character.
Or killing off the show and use that team to make a whole new show. I wish they had just done that, especially since Solar Opposites. If you haven't watched it, it is definitely worth watching. But it's about a family of aliens, and it's got 2 mini stories within the stories, which they dedicate entire episodes to. One is that the kids, when they get pissed off at somebody, they'll use a shrink ray on them and put them inside. Like Star Trek, how they have those. They always have those zoo episodes where there's a zoo of different races. Yeah. They basically have that, and so there's an entire Mad Max storyline going on. And each season, like, they have like huge Game of Thrones level battles in there. Entire episodes will be dedicated to it. It's crazy.
It's like Rick's battery episode.
Kind of like that, but it's something that continued going. Like, we always checked in on the battery. And so I think in 4 seasons they've had like 3 different leaders and gone through 3 different governments. It's just nuts. The other thing is that one guy that got pissed off with for getting too close to his car or whatever, he has a Corvette or whatever, they launched him into space, and he got recruited into what's called the Silver Cops, which is basically Green Lantern, but they're all like Miami douchebag cops, but they're Green Lantern. And so now they check in on him, and he's like dealing with like going undercover for drug busts and stuff like that. It's like an entire show's like dedicated to him for some reason. Yeah, they could have done that instead.
Would have been hilarious. You could play it off like the main character, died or something else, and then just do a spinoff series after that.
Yeah, that would have been good. Or knowing how they write these shows, it could have been just like, oh, he had a sex scandal. He's no longer going to be seen again. Like, literally just tell the truth, and it would have been totally understandable for the audience.
That's true. That probably would have played out better, actually.
Yeah. All right, we're moving on to the next thing here. Jason Momoa is in talks to play Lobo for Superman Legacy. You remember Jason Momoa? Or not? You know Jason Momoa. Do you remember Lobo?
Yeah, and it's funny. I've never put these two together, but when you see that comparison, you're like, damn, this guy looks just like him. Like, this is a perfect... I mean, he needs the white makeup and the clothes and stuff like that, but he's the build and the big hair and like everything's like, man, that'd be a really good casting for Lobo.
The funny thing is I would expect him to play Lobo way before Aquaman.
Yeah, for sure. Aquaman was kind of shot in the dark. I mean, he fit the new vision of Aquaman, which is very different than what we were used to. Which I think he did well. The DC has been hit and miss for 20 years or whatever since they got into movies, but for a while. But yeah, he seems like just a perfect fit for Lobo. I'm just hoping this isn't setting up taking a really cool character that they're ready to introduce into a movie and putting it in a movie that they're just not dedicated to or not prepared to do, and then botching the character pretty much.
Yeah, what's nice with this being Superman Legacy, it sounds like it's gonna have a lot of heroes, and it's our new DC, it's our new Superman, and they're getting into it with, hey, Superman's already existed for a long time. You don't have to see him in Kansas. He's already Superman, and like he's friends with Green Lantern already, that kind of thing. So that's kind of cool that we're already in an established world. And knowing Lobo, like we both know, he's not a character you just kill and you never see again. Yeah. No, he comes back with like a new crazy story or whatever. And sometimes works with Superman. Like, hey, man, so I got into a big space bar brawl, and now they're coming to Earth because I accidentally had Earth dirt on my shoes. And like that's the kind of thing that would just like happen. And so I'm really hoping that they kind of like keep Lobo around, and we see him kind of like Loki just pop up in future projects.
That'd be cool. And I see that, like you're saying, they're gonna have multiple heroes to come together in this. I think they're trying to like jump the gun and get to where Marvel is now, and that's just not the way to go. In DC, I would like to see Iron Man, like the single character standalone movies that eventually built up, and Marvel kind of pushed it along pretty fast once they saw how good it was doing. But you could even take longer than they took. I know financially they wanted to be done yesterday, but you got to build out these individual characters and not force the fans to love them, but find which ones the fans love, and you elaborate on those ones and make more stories for them, and then weave them together. And you don't have to retell the same stories you've told before. You can be writing fresh content. It doesn't have to be directly from the comic books, but I don't know. I feel like they're trying to do what Marvel's done at an accelerated pace, and it's probably not going to pay out.
I'm hoping with James Gunn is seeing how he handled like Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which might be the best Marvel movie ever. I'm hoping it's because he's going to be leaning in on character-driven stuff. Like he's pulling from Grant Morrison's Superman, which is Superman All-Star, and it's all about like in that story, Superman knows he's got 1 year to live, and it's these heartwarming stories of him just trying to like save people without actually being Superman. A lot of times, like there's this one part where he convinces this young, I think it's a young woman, to not kill herself. And it's just like this conversation they have, and all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, it's so heartbreaking and beautiful. And like, that's the stories we want. Those are things that we'll remember long past, like, oh, look, Flash runs fast.
Yeah.
Hopefully we get those. And I think that might be something that James Gunn can handle.
Yeah. Who made the Man of Steel? They did really good with that. And then that was the end of like that Superman series.
Yeah. So that's Zack Snyder. And unfortunately, they just like, hey, Zack Snyder, you did good with that. You want to do Justice League next? And like, no, make more Supermans first. They jumped the gun on that whole thing.
Yeah, for sure. I think it'd be cool to see a Superman dilemma too. It's probably been in the animated series or comics, I don't remember, where he starts to see how like corrupt humanity is and how just so far gone it is, and starts to wonder, is it even worth trying to help them anymore? And so the whole time and throughout the movie, you're seeing this like emotional dilemma that he's dealing with of whether he should just give up and move on to other people, or somewhere he can be appreciated for his abilities, and where people aren't going to be trying to kill each other so much and stuff like that. If he should just let this planet eat itself, kind of thing. But then, of course, at the end, he's got to come around and be like, no, there is good, there is hope, there's a chance for these people to thrive, and without me, the innocent won't survive and stuff like that. So that'd be kind of cool.
One of the things Gunn mentions that he wants to focus on in this new Superman is in this first episode or first movie he's going to be dealing with coming from being nearly a rich kid, like a really high up status wise on Krypton, and then coming to Kansas and being in a poor farming family and balancing those two things, and like the difference between being a high privileged Kryptonian and then now seeing the struggles of just regular humanity and how he could best help. And so like that sounds like that's definitely not a question that I'd expect Henry Cavill to ask. So
well, didn't he come to Earth as a baby?
He did, yeah, but I mean, there's something where he's going to realize or whatever, like he's still going to see that, like, I come from a rich background and my parents had the ability to have a spaceship send me off before the planet blew up. Like, maybe that's kind of a rich kid vibe, I'm not sure, but
or maybe
his dad was a good scientist, though.
Gets like a message, saved from his parents, something like that, that tells him who he is, and then from that he's like, oh yeah, so I came from like royalty, and here I'm a peasant, kind of thing.
Yeah, that happens a lot. That happens in every Superman story, too, is where he gets the message from his dad that's like, hey, guess what happened? It went really bad. And that's where he learns about Krypton blowing up and stuff like that. So, that'd be a good story. Let's move on to Marvel side of things. So they just had, Jonathan, a mess over at Marvel TV. So have you been keeping up on all the Marvel TV shows?
Not really. It's been a while, actually. Jessica Jones, I think, was the last one I really watched one after the other.
What about Disney Plus Marvel shows? That's not even a Disney Plus one you just named. You just named a Netflix one.
That's true. I don't know what's been on Disney Plus.
WandaVision. She-Hulk. Miss Marvel.
She-Hulk.
Okay.
Yeah, I watched some of Miss Marvel. Yeah.
The current one's Loki, which I know you're watching Loki.
Oh yeah, definitely watching Loki.
Okay.
Oh, so I guess. I don't know how I did not associate that with. I'm thinking like I don't know.
You just got off work, Jonathan. I completely understand.
Yeah, right. Haven't had it. Yeah.
Okay, so this is what's going down. We have what's called Daredevil Born Again. It's a new show that's in development. And the idea is that it's taking the Netflix Daredevil, putting it over on Disney Plus, and it's going to be this Born Again. This is, same Daredevil, but now kind of more canon feel. And they're going to do it 18 episodes for it. And oh boy, we're excited because everything else is 6 episodes. I can't believe Loki's already like halfway done. It's just ridiculous. And so they were halfway through done producing the show. It's 9 episodes they already have finished. And Marvel saw it and was just like, this sucks. We're not going to put this out. We're done. We're not doing this. And what it is Marvel this entire time has just been using executives, basically Kevin Feige and crew, to make these shows. They haven't been hiring showrunners. They haven't been hiring writers that specifically know how to write for TV. They haven't made what's called show Bibles, which are like the rule book for your TV show. And they haven't been making pilots to even say if people would want this. So like normally a show would make a pilot first, see if it even looks right or sounds like a good idea before they invest the money into an entire show. Yeah. Basically, they were just like, hey, guys who make movies, can you make movies that last for 6 hours? And they were, and that's what we were getting.
They've been running on autopilot because they've made so much money so successfully. Like, we can just change this character for that character and put them in blue instead of red and make another $1 million and turn them out, right?
The idea was that people are just going to watch it because it's Marvel. They're not gonna, they didn't have to worry about it. And they're starting to see Secret Invasion was a flop.
Yeah. That was
She-Hulk, real big flop. So they're realizing their mistakes, and after how bad, like Daredevil's kind of got a lot riding on it. Echo, which is one of their shows coming up. Did you watch the Hawkeye series?
No.
Okay, well, Echo was introduced that she is deaf, a really badass character, but she's got her own series coming up. Now, normally they would release it week by week like everything else. Like, no, in January we're just going to release them all. So it's got a real, like, nah, we don't care anymore vibes. And then with how bad Daredevil was looking, they decided to change things up. So this is what they're going to be doing. They're hiring showrunners to maintain the consistent vision from start to finish of the show. They're going to be appointing dedicated TV executives to ensure that the medium gets the specialized attention it requires. So no more just putting a movie guy in charge and say, make a long movie. They're going to be developing pilots and show Bibles before committing to a full season. So they're going to make sure that the show, so like a show Bible, a good way to look at it is it's like your business model. Yeah. You can't go to a bank and ask for a loan without a business model and just be like, I want to open a pizza store. Bah, bah, bah. No, you have to actually have a plan.
Especially when like this character at some point decided, he's not going to kill villains anymore, something like that, and then that has to carry throughout the story. This challenge of is he gonna bring this battle to the fringe, and then he's gonna stop and not kill that guy because the dedication that he committed to earlier, or this is going to be the breaking point, and it's going to be this big climactic moment where he decides that this guy has to die because he's too much of a threat or something. That kind of stuff has to be carried from movie to movie, or when they cross from movie to series or whatever. Yeah, carry on with those characters' plot lines.
And there's two more things, and then I want to come back to that because I think we have a problem with that currently with Loki. So they're also going to be producing multi-season serialized TV shows, moving away from this limited series format. And lastly, and most importantly, they're going to be focusing on character-driven narratives instead of the event-based stories. So returning back to Loki, one of my complaints, while I am loving the show, don't get me wrong, one of my complaints is that it's so disjointed in like one moment, I was telling Thomas 4 episodes ago, when that one woman goes and starts bombing all the branches and start pruning all the branches, we would consider her a hero in the TVA. She's kicking ass. She's getting rid of all those loose branches. And now, just 4 episodes later on, we're like, no, you're killing billions. Like, how am I supposed to shift emotionally? And the characters are definitely shifted emotionally. Like, the characters are damn near in tears when it's like, your job was to do that, 4 episodes ago. So it's a little tough to kind of balance that.
Yeah. It's like they're just moving that story, that plot twist too fast in the story and not giving you time to adjust to it.
Right. And if you think about how they're saying they're going to be going from character-driven narratives to event-driven formats, if you think about an event way, it's like, first event, we need to get to where we meet Kang the Conqueror. Second event, now we have to fix Kang's story. Like, it doesn't matter that those two connect at all, and it's kind of like they don't emotionally.
Yeah.
So, if you have them driven character-wise, then you're going, for Loki, you're talking about a guy who was used to being a villain, which we did get some of this, but, it's going to be focused on this now. A guy who was a villain is learning what it means to be a hero, seeing maybe that there's more important things than him always losing or winning. That's something that you could follow more. And then what's nice is you could then take that character, plug them into a movie here and there, and take them back out, and it doesn't change things. Like, it's still a character that's well formatted and stuff like that,
Yeah. And I think with this whole dynamic with Sylvie's a little complicated, I think we're going to see it. I'm hoping they are producing it to be, unravel more. But it's like, he already has this huge ego, and he's proving now that he falls in love with himself, but he's so resentful for himself and blames himself for so much. So he's got to get to this point of resolution where he forgives himself, and then it's got to come to some end where it's like he can let go of himself and no longer center his world around him, which I think would be him letting go of Sylvie at the end, and her truly dying or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, that Sylvie relationship's so weird. I still have a hard time justifying it. Like those two people I'm cool with being in love. It's the fact that it's still you, bro. It's same DNA.
Exactly. So I don't know if they wrote that with an end in mind, then maybe it'll be really good. But if they did like Lost and they just got it started and thought, this is gonna be cute, and then didn't know where it was gonna go, then it might be pretty stale by the time we get to the end of it.
Yeah. I don't know. I think they need to. There are some rumors or some fan theories that Sylvie stays around and she's actually Dox, which is the kind of the older lady that's been pruning all the timelines. Like, that's Sylvie from the future. I kind of hope they go with that, because then it makes sense that okay, Loki went off to go do Loki things, and then Sylvie stayed around to help with the TVA. Like, that kind of just makes sense to me. I'm hoping something like that happens.
But they don't age when they're at the TVA, right?
Yeah, it would have to be something like she got lost in another timeline or something like that for a while, and then came back.
Yeah.
I don't know. They'll figure something out, right? It's timey-wimey. We've
Yeah.
watched enough Star Trek to know you could just kind of just make a device that fixes something and it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so there's all kinds of shifts and stuff like that coming to Disney Plus. I think this is generally good because I'd rather Marvel make something that's going to last a long time than giving me 3 shows per year. I don't need 3 shows per year as long as they're good one show that I remember. Like The Mandalorian comes out so rarely, it feels like. But I'm a big fan every time it releases, you know?
Yeah.
So hopefully the same thing. All right, moving over to our next thing here. PlayStation reveals PS5 Slim. It's one of the best things I love about this thing, Jonathan, is, you could buy the digital version, they call it the digital version, or the disc version, which means it has the disc drive as part of it. And I made sure to have the disc version of the regular PS5. Now, finally, they're adding a thing where you could just add the disc later on if you want to.
Oh,
and it
that's
just
smart.
attaches to the side, and the plate changes on the outside so it doesn't look like you bought a different one at all. I love that feature. I think it should be something that we put on all future consoles, honestly.
Do you think they're still going to sell discs in another 5 years or 10 years?
There's a lot of collectors that are really pushing that they keep the physical copies around because it's the only time you can get a really good deal on old video games. Like the digital version of games, you're kind of stuck to the digital libraries too.
Yeah, I think eventually they're just going to, I mean, the cost, I know it doesn't cost a lot to produce the discs, but it's really not needed anymore. Everything's downloaded, whether you get the disc or not, right? You put the disc in as a product key to
really
download the game. So I think we're going to get to the point where you buy the game online, say you buy it for $70, and for an extra $3 or $3.99, you can have the disc case with the sleeve and all that stuff mailed to you. Or maybe they'll even at that point make them nicer, make them the aluminum cases, or come with a keychain or something like that in it, a collector's kit kind of thing. I think that's a better way to go, and I imagine we'll probably get to there, 5 or 10 years or something like that, because the discs.
Some games are doing that. Yeah, when you buy the physical copy, whatever, you still get a code to put in, and you don't even get a disc. You'll just get the tin box, you get the metal box collector box, and it always starts a fuss every time they do that. But it's like, guys, get ready. That's kind of just how it's going to end up being.
Yeah, I think it's better that way. I don't really care to have the disc myself, anyways. Now, granted, I don't want. There needs to be some kind of law or something protecting us from losing our digital libraries, because I can see a company goes out of business and that library gets bought by somebody else or deleted, and you no longer have that content anymore. That should be illegal. But as long as they're protect from that kind of thing happening, like you can store a hard copy of a digital copy on your desktop and not have to be on their cloud service or whatever, I think that would be fine then.
I think that's the only way to really solve that problem, is that you get to download a copy of the game that has no connection to having to be online or with registries or anything like that.
Yeah.
We're
That'd
far
be hard,
away
though,
from that.
How do they keep it from being distributed after that,
Yeah. Ask Scott. He doesn't buy a new game anymore. That guy. Yeah. He's like, oh, I'm sure you're playing Assassin's Creed. I'm like, I'm trying to save money. I got BlizzCon coming up, and I got Spider-Man 2. I got to make sure to get that. And he's like, oh, no, just pirate it. I'm like, no, dude, I want to support the game company. I don't want to do that.
Jeez. All these actors need to get paid and everything.
Yeah. God bless him. But yeah, it's just kind of funny. He's like, man, come on, pirate it. What are you talking about? I was like, no, man.
The new PS5 being so slim, do you know how they did that? I'm just guessing, but I'm assuming they don't have the traditional hard drive anymore. They went SSD, and now they doesn't need the cooling capacity. Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
They did that a while ago. So it's 30% reduction in volume, shows how much it's slimmer, but it's 18 to 24% more power. Or it's 18 to 24% less weight, but it's a more powerful processor and a bigger SSD drive, so a bigger hard drive essentially. It's a full terabyte now, which you definitely need, man. Those games fill up quick on these things.
So what did they change to make it physically smaller? Like, what was their?
They just
proprietary.
Yeah, but I mean, I can't necessarily tell you the exact things. I don't know it, but basically they just got it to where the components were smaller. That's what they focus on after they released the original one.
Because I was wondering, I don't know if they have, like, the Xbox has the separate power supply, pretty much, that block that you plug in, which it seems like every time they make a console, it's bigger, and it has its own fan in it, and it's loud as can be. Yeah. So I was wondering if they didn't have that, set it before, and now maybe they switch to that, which gives them a ton more space.
I'm pretty sure the PS5 doesn't have a separate thing. I think it's just a straight cord to the wall.
Yeah.
So
nice.
Maybe that is something that they did to kind of help free up some space. That would be smart. That's a good move. Yeah. All right, we're going to be sticking in the world of gaming. John, we're talking about Minecraft. Now, this is a very interesting story. I'm not entirely sure which side I'm on.
Yeah.
What did you already read about this?
I did. I read it on the Geek Freaks podcast website.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I can't, I don't have a solution for it. It's a complicated dilemma.
Right.
But so as far as I understand, sorry, every year the Mojang releases options to the fans of what characters, villains or whatever they want to add to the game. Sorry. And so the fans, the players will vote on which one they want added. And to me, that seems like just a fun thing as a player. Like you get to help choose, do you want a new version of zombie pigs or, some giant bats or a different type of, like a billy goat or something like that. That's, whatever you want, a different turtle, so you get to vote in it, majority wins, it gets to go in the game. But people, the fans, the players are actually putting together a petition to stop that altogether. Not that they hate the options that were offered, but they're realizing that it's tearing apart the fans. It's creating unnecessary elections where it's a 3-party system because there's 3 options to choose from, and people are getting online and bickering back and forth when really Minecraft has always been just a fun place for people to come and play together. And, aside from a few small anomalies, for the most part, it's a happy, peaceful place for people to get together and play. Mm-hmm. And so, it's an interesting dilemma that Mojang's just trying to give us options to keep expanding the game and add more fun to it. And the players are actually like, no, you're pitting us against each other by giving us options. So what do you think? How do you think Mojang should respond to that?
Yeah, isn't that an interesting situation? And another thing, too, that they're saying is like, you guys make the other 2 options that we don't pick so that we could pick them. Like, you guys already make the assets, so just release all 3.
Yeah.
And they say that the modders, in the article I talk about that, I write it up, where the modders they appreciate because the modders will just make a fake version of both the other options too, so everybody can download everything. Yeah. And so it's like, why can't you guys do that, Mojang? Instead of pitting us against each other, maybe you make it to where one is free and the other 2 cost like 100 coins or something like that. Some pretty much almost free thing. But I mean, it was something that I kind of thought was interesting. So I was like, I mean, I never thought about it before, but Minecraft is probably the only game I play, maybe Sea of Thieves, where it is all for one. I mean, we are very rarely at each other's necks. Yeah. And Mojang, in an attempt to create clicks or buzz, they create this turf war that people get invested with. Because for a lot of people, Minecraft is their only game. So they get really invested in it.
I think what I would do instead, release individual little characters without any option, occasionally adding them to the game. That's always fun. The dragon is fun. The skeleton creature, whatever it was, the 3-headed skeleton thing. There's a lot of fun bosses, or several fun bosses in the game. I would release a new boss every year or 2 or 3 years, something like that. Yeah. Instead of creating something for people to argue about, this or that, you create something where you have to unlock it first off. You have to figure out how to unlock it and go find it and join together, because you should be a one-shot kill if you're out there trying to solo this boss. And then, brings you and some friends or make new friends to join together and try to take it down. And then, some really cool new loot that we haven't seen yet comes out, even if it's just decorative or a trophy or something like that. But I think it'd be a lot more fun to have a new boss than to have a different color pig or something.
Yeah, and the things that they drop, like some of these creatures all drop something different that kind of adds some benefit. Some benefits are far more important to some players for the people, for the place they created. So then you're like, well, yeah, of course I'm going to fight for that. I don't care about the armadillo, but it drops the thing that I really could use, and so you create a problem there. But if it's one boss, then it's a whole different thing.
Armadillo could drop. I wish I was a modder actually to be adding things to Minecraft to be fun. Yeah. Armadillo could drop like a hard shell like armadillos wear, to where you can roll like Sonic, and then you could just bounce around the whole place like Sonic and move really fast throughout the land. That'd be pretty cool.
I'm trying to find what it does drop. I forget what it drops because it's one of the 3 that you can vote on this year. But yeah, currently there's 300,000 players petitioning for this to stop, and they're calling boycott the vote, which will negate the hype behind the item. Like, really, the hype is in the opposite direction right now for Mojang. So it's really working against them. One of the things I think is very interesting that's kind of pushing this, it's totally a Gen Z vibe, in my opinion, is they're using a lot of they're using communism propaganda art, but they're using AI generated images for it. So they're just like literally what they're typing type of thing is make communism propaganda art about stopping Mojang from forcing us to vote. And then you get these arts, and it's like, this is the stuff I saw in textbooks, but it's a Minecraft soil. And, it's stuff like that. It's like really neat. I mean, honestly, I like this one right here that I put on. I made sure to put it in the article itself where it shows like rolling up your sleeves. It's such a classic 1930s kind of propaganda art, but like you can recognize, if you recognize the color of those sleeves, oh, that's Steve. Steve's rolling up his sleeves like he's going to fight for the people. And it's just an interesting idea. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Which way do you believe? Do you believe we should get rid of the vote or keep it?
Yeah, I think, I mean, obviously the fans aren't liking it, and the new content is fun, but it doesn't need to be voted on. If you, I don't know, if you like all three, I mean, you could just put one out there. Don't put three out there. Say Armadillo character, he might do this, this, and this. What do you guys think? And then get people's feedback and say, oh, well, you should make it to where he can roll, and maybe he burrows underground, and it's really hard to kill. And then you take that advice and you just create that one. And then 6 months later, hey guys, we're thinking about making a new kind of lava character. What do you think about this? Just one at a time, put them out, get feedback, create it, and the fans will enjoy it. Meanwhile, still make some really surprising new bosses without, you can get feedback on them, but I think it'd be a lot more fun if you get a new boss that drops and nobody was expecting it. And it's kind of a question of like, how do you find it? How do you get it? How do you take it down? Just make it all a mystery until a few people beat it, and then they're, share it with everyone else.
World of Warcraft now has a department that's in charge of that, putting in puzzles that span the entire game that take months to solve, and they give no pointers.
Yeah.
They just have to I remember for one of them was you had to realize that these 5 rocks on this random beach make up the map of Azeroth, and one of the rocks has a crustacean on it that's a star, and so then they went there and that opened up everything. But you just had some player had to randomly come across these rocks on a beach, and that's I just crazy. Loved it. Yeah, so that was a whole community for it. They have their own Discord where they try to all right, everybody, scour the cities, scour the beaches, scour the forests. Let's try to find the next clue that they just put in. And so that'd be so dope.
All the information's in the task.
Yeah. Oh, Jonathan, you're killing me.
I like it.
We are big Taskmaster fans around here, guys. Since we've been bringing it up, just to let you guys know, I think I've rewatched Taskmaster Series 15, 5 times. It's a really good one. That's the one with May and stuff. So that's good.
Yeah.
All right. Last story we're going to be going over. This is the biggest gaming acquisition in history.
It's crazy.
But Microsoft just finalized their acquisition of Activision Blizzard. So that means that Microsoft, one of the lines that just kind of made me sit back oh yeah, I forgot about that. Halo and Call of Duty are owned by the same company now.
Yeah. That could be an awesome mashup if they put those together somehow.
For real. But growing up, that was always kind of are you a Call of Duty player or a Halo player? Depending on what kind of shooter you liked. Yeah. Soaking bullets or one-shot kills and stuff like that. That's pretty cool. But yeah, this deal's $69 billion, and it brings in Activision, King, which is the version of it that does mobile gaming, and Blizzard, all under Xbox, alongside Bethesda, Rare, and all the other companies that they own. And, I mean, they already put out a video of hey, welcome home, guys. We got BlizzCon in 3 weeks, so I'm very excited to see what they talk about with this related to BlizzCon.
All their plans.
And that'll be a lot of fun. Yeah.
What
do you think about this?
How is this not a monopoly?
Yeah, good point.
I mean, it really, it seems like there's no way this can't be. I mean, I get there's still some competition in the market, but they're just this beast that keeps growing. And as long as they keep putting out good games and content for us, then we benefit from it. But at some point, they're just going to consume the rest of the market. Right? I mean, who else? They're competing with Sony. Who else is really competing in the same field as them?
Yeah. And for this merger to go through, they had to go to, I think it was 29 countries to get approval. The last 2 holdouts were United States and UK. And United States, the FTC was saying no, this is a monopoly. You're going to kill competitiveness. And so did the UK. But then Microsoft countered both of those. But every country, PlayStation was there to say no, we can't lose Call of Duty. And Xbox was we'll give you a contract that says you'll never lose Call of Duty. That's not what this is about. But, it goes back and forth. And I will admit my bias is definitely with Xbox, just because I've always been an Xbox fan. I may own a PS5, but still. And I'm definitely a Blizzard fan above all things. So I'm a little biased on that. Let me get to Kyle real quick. We asked people in Discord if they have any opinions on this they want to make sure to mention on the podcast. Kyle brought up a really good point. He says it's a bittersweet situation. The key thing is that for over 10 years now, Blizzard fans have always, and Activision fans have always hated CEO Bobby Kotick, the guy that runs Activision Blizzard. He's money first. He hid the sexual abuse stuff a few years ago. He's not a great guy. And so a lot of this deal going through is excitement that on January 1st he's out of a job. And so he thinks by the fans' fervor, that's coming from that a lot. Personally, in my opinion, it's because I'm a huge fan of World of Warcraft, and I see how Blizzard runs the community of Sea of Thieves and the community of Minecraft, too. They own Minecraft as well. And I'm like, okay, I'm happy with those communities. I'm okay if that becomes how they run World of Warcraft community. And then he mentions that as for Microsoft's quality, to negate how great everybody thinks the quality is, you have to look at the Bethesda games like Redfall, which completely failed, and Starfield, which had minor situations. I will say that Starfield did have minor situations, but the game overall is spectacular. So I'd give it that. But yeah, he thinks that this it's a bittersweet situation. There are definitely good and bad, but he thinks that the fans might be a little too excited about this. So that was Kyle. He's over on our Discord, guys. Yeah, I think he's got some really good points there. What do you think?
Yeah, I worry that, like, I've been pitching this for a long time, and maybe it's never going to happen, but it depends on where the money's at. You used to tell me before that consoles, when they sell, the stores don't really make money on the system. They make money on the games. Yeah. We no longer need a system in the household. Everybody that has a computer, your computer can handle almost every game that's out there now, for the most part. So we're getting to a point where if Microsoft makes that transition of, hey, instead of making the Xbox, we're going to make the Xbox PC, where your Xbox now can open Excel and Word and do all the things that you can do your homework on your Xbox, is how they could pitch it. Really, it's just an awesome gaming PC that they're making, with the same interface and stuff like that as an Xbox, or more user-friendly. I think it's just a matter of time, and now they're going to have a bigger piece of the market, so they'll have a little more leverage to push that and have a massive library that's instantaneously accessible, because you're linking everything to your digital library already. You don't need a disc tray, but your computer, your Xbox PC can come with one. But you'll as soon as you plug it in and log in, have all your games fully accessible. I just think it's got to be the way they go. The only hold up is it is a big transition for a lot of people to. I mean, it doesn't. Theoretically, it would be, but it's very similar. Your Xbox is already practically a PC with limited abilities.
Yeah.
So I think it's got to be coming soon, and maybe this, after 5-10 years of flushing this out a little bit, they'll be able to make that transition.
I think Xbox's plans for that transition, which I think they're definitely putting in place now, is to go beyond the Xbox themselves. And we talked about this in the past. They're not going to be naming the Xboxes separately anymore. They're just going to say it's Series whatever. I think the key for them is Game Pass. I think that's where it's all at. And so they think, look, we're going to make Game Pass such a good deal. Like if they add, for example, if they add my $15 a month for World of Warcraft, if they add that as part of Game Pass, I have no reason to not be on Game Pass, because I already would be paying that for World of Warcraft. So why would I not just have Game Pass? But now that they're adding Call of Duty to it, like think about Call of Duty players or Starfield. Starfield's this great game that came out. For a lot of users, they just paid the $10, $20 a month for Game Pass, and they got to play a $70 game for that price. Not for free, but for that price. And you unlocked the entire Xbox library. If you add Activision to that, just like you just added Bethesda, it makes it to where Game Pass is like how Netflix was 4 years ago. The thing you just paid for is not something you even debated about. It's like, it's where I play all my games. No, duh. I think that's what they're shooting for.
So it makes sense, though, adding so much more to the library, Game Pass price would go up. What do you think would be the max you'd be willing to pay before questioning whether it's worth canceling Game Pass?
Ask Netflix, because they keep they like to dance on that damn line. Right. I would say that, right now I pay. So when I do use Game Pass, which I'm not subscribed right now, actually, I like the $10 version because it's just for PC. But if I had an Xbox as well, which I probably will here pretty soon, I think it's like $15 that does it for both, and it unlocks every Xbox game. Day one, you can play an Xbox game that comes out. It's crazy. And so I think $15 is pretty solid. I would not go higher than $25. I'm saying that's in the future where it's like my sole video game source.
That's what I was thinking too. Is like once they get all this library integrated and stuff, and they're really pushing it. I think $22.99 is going to be their hot number of where they're trying to pitch the full access package or whatever, and then probably like $18.99 or $17.99 for the lower grade, less access. But I could definitely see that happen. But I mean, it gets you so much more content now. So assuming they keep it one wide open library.
Funny enough, PlayStation's been like 3 steps behind on this entire streaming service thing, right? But they just announced something that I think was going to help a lot, and Microsoft cannot even touch it. All the Sony movies are going to be included. So now you can watch Sony movies, which is a lot of movies, actually.
You know what would help Sony? Put your system into your TVs. You know how you get a TV that's got Hulu built into it and stuff like that? Or you know, put PlayStation games into your TV so that it can be streamed through. What was that web-based
this cloud gaming they're pushing.
Okay, there was another company that was making a Strata or something like that. Stadia.
So Google made Stadia. They launched it and it already collapsed. So that shows you how well they did it. But yeah, Xbox has been working on Xbox Cloud Gaming, and they have the Keystone we announced a year ago. They ended up pushing it off because of this deal. But Keystone's eventually coming out, which is going to be like a Fire Stick. You just plug into the back of your TV, and you stream all your games instead of actually playing it on a hard. I mean, that's just, again, it's all Game Pass.
If Sony wants to stay relevant, I mean, Microsoft has a good grip on PC systems. Sony has a ton of TVs they produce. Put it built into your TVs and get a head start on everybody else.
Yeah, it's getting to where like right now I've got the new Spider-Man coming out, but I don't think I've played a major PlayStation game since God of War. No, Star Wars Fallen or Survivor. But I mean, it's only every 4 months that I'm playing a PlayStation game. But if you were paying a subscription to a game, you're more likely to just try things, and more importantly, like the gyms, you're more likely to forget that you're paying for it, and then that's just free. That's just free money for them.
You know what I would like to see from Microsoft now, and this would be kind of diversifying, a way for them to get more revenue, honestly, is lean into, now that they have so much to offer, lean into big, what do you call that? Big competitions, big, what do they call that? Tournaments, and host them, down like they do BlizzCon, like host a big event where it's a week long. All these different Microsoft games are being, played, and make a big trophy, and it'd be the NASCAR Indy 500 or whatever of gaming. Really lean into that and make a massive convention out of every year. I think that'd be cool.
That's a good idea. Xbox is big enough to do that, like Xbox Fest or something like that.
Do it in Vegas in that new dome.
Oh my God, that cool. Sphere is so freaking cool.
Sphere, yeah. that'd be intense. I can't imagine. I mean, Microsoft has the money to put together that kind of presentation, that kind of convention, but will it give them the return on their investment? Maybe not, but it'd be nice to see them try.
But it's a big press statement. You know how much I'm seeing that Sphere on TikTok right now?
Oh yeah,
you can imagine the Xbox logo rotating around that thing so easily.
Oh yeah, just the little ball. Yeah, that'd be dope.
That would be a really good idea. Let us know what you guys think about this acquisition. I'm trying to look at the positives for sure as a World of Warcraft. I think there's a lot of positives. And they already have said, like, one of the main Activision franchises that they think, why is it not still around, is Guitar Hero. And I'm like, hell yeah, it's a good idea. Guitar Hero is a great game. So that's one of them that they would jumpstart. Let us know what you guys think and what games you want them to bring back, or what games you think are going to be bolstered by this deal. Is there any games you could think of off the top of your head?
Not specifically. I've been so detached from like modern games, I have no idea. But thinking of Guitar Hero, I think one of the biggest hindrances it had was that you had to buy the guitar, or when they had the other one, you had to buy the drums and the physical things that are large and have to be produced. If there was a way to make those work well with the smartphone, or VR, really would be ideal, I think, for something like Guitar Hero.
I think so too.
That'd be really cool. But I don't know if they're going to go in VR.
The benefit now is Bluetooth. Like now you don't have to have a plug that plugs into every system. Now you just connects with Bluetooth like all the controllers do. So then it would be easier to have it like more universal, so that when a new Xbox comes out or a new game comes out, whatever, it's just Bluetooth. It's like another controller.
That's true. And Google made that Google Ring, I think it was, that where you can control your phone and stuff like that. Like imagine it would be really easy to make gloves that have a Bluetooth fingertips, so you can be air guitar and playing.
That'd be fun.
Or different instruments. You could be using the Bluetooth gloves and playing the drums, and it would have to sense where you're striking at.
Yeah, I was
smart.
itching to play Guitar Hero, and I was like, oh, I'll just buy one of the old games. Let me see who's got one online. Holy shit, they're like $200. People are collecting them bad boys.
Oh, yeah. Really?
And you know, in terms of like, I think I've thrown away those guitars.
Yeah, honestly,
in the past. That's a shame.
You see them at flea markets sometimes, but I don't know.
Yeah, I need to keep an eye
how
out.
cheap they are. Yeah.
Yeah. Last bit, actually, I forgot about this. This is also a news story that came out this morning. So X-Men 3, the old X-Men movies, it came out that Matthew, gosh dang it, I forgot his name, Matthew Vaughn, who was the director of X2, was working on X3, and he goes into the studio's office, and they have a big version of a script there, and he's like, that's way too big. And I have the whole TikTok up for you guys so you can actually watch him talk about this at New York Comic Con. But then they're like, oh, don't worry about that. And then they're like, no, what is it? And he pulls it and he sees it, and it's the Halle Berry version of the script. And I remember there's some rumors of this as a kid, but the rumors that we were being fed was that, oh, Halle Berry, I'm going to use this as a term that I said in high school. Oh, what a bitch for not wanting to be Storm anymore. That kind of thing.
Yeah, like she was being a drama queen or something, a diva.
That's the way it was pitched. So what it was they wrote a different script for her to read that made Storm like a main character.
Yeah.
And then once they got her in contract, like they threw it away and gave her a whole new script. So that Matthew left the series, but now it's like, man, what a shitty move. Amongst all the SAG-AFTRA strikes, you're like, oh yeah, you guys are really looking like assholes right now.
Yeah. And it was like Black Panther, and she's, T'Challa. The way that the beginning of the script sounded, it's like, oh, she's saving, these tribes that need water and stuff like that. And it's, well, of course, that's going to make you want to, take a role. You'll even probably take a pay cut to get into a role like that. And then when they throw the script away and like, oh no, actually we rewrote your character. She's just going to be standing next to
the hot chick next to Wolverine.
Yeah, it's like, oh no, go fuck yourself. But
what's a shame is that sounded like a really good piece of story right there.
Yeah.
Where like it was like, oh, I didn't think about how Storm could be saving people that we need saving today, not just like superhero character stuff. Yeah. It's a shame.
And X2 to me was the best of the X-Men movies. I wish they continued. Maybe if they did actually give her what she wanted, it would have been, X3 would have been just as good. Yeah,
well, if they kept Matthew Vaughn, the director, who left because of that, it would have been interesting. He ended up coming back to do First Class, which I think First Class was good. I know a lot of people were iffy on that. I thought it was good, but then he wrote the next movie, and they're like, "Oh no, we already promised that to Bryan Singer, so you don't get to do that one." And then they forced him to leave, and it's like, "Screw you guys!" So he was just
that was the time travel one, right? Days of Future Past or something like that.
Yeah.
That wasn't my favorite of him.
He went off to go make Kingsman after that, which I think Kingsman is. Have you watched Kingsman?
Successful. I haven't. You've suggested it so many times too.
Son of a bitch.
I still haven't seen it. Isn't
there like 3 recommendations of the week? Go watch Kingsman.
Yeah.
But you really should watch Kingsman. It's I liken it to 007, but back in the 70s when they were just like, yeah, let's just make shit blow up. It's fine. It's that fun. It's really good. The first two are in modern days, where it's like this punk kid on like London streets gets adopted into this Kingsman Society, which is an agency that protects the crown. And then the third one actually goes back in time to the formation of Kingsman and has such an insane mid-movie twist that I was like, what the hell? How's this movie going to keep going on? But it's so good. So please watch the Kingsman franchise. It's really awesome, and not enough people see it, but yeah, it's good.
Is it streaming somewhere?
I know it's on HBO. I think it's also on Hulu.
Okay.
So yeah,
nice.
It's pretty good.
I haven't been watching anything new lately except for Loki. So if you guys haven't seen that, get caught up on Loki. Sure. It's really good. And I've been watching a lot of Taskmaster as well. I just started back on season 1 because I watched like season 11 through 15 or something like that. And I think I watched season like 8 or something. And then now I was like, okay, I got to start at season 1 and see them all. That's such a good show.
Season 1 feels very different than season 15, huh?
Yeah, it's like they're figuring out what they're doing still. But it's still good. It's fun.
The task, I don't know if you've seen it yet, but the one where they say, get the balls on the yoga mat on top of the hill. Have you seen that task yet?
Yeah.
That was the first time where Alex, like after they were done, Alex talking to the crew like, is that allowed? Like, what are we going to do? And they're like, yeah, actually, I think that's better. And then so then they were like, because I've been watching a lot of interviews too. And so they were like, let's endorse thinking laterally like that. So then that becomes the main part of the show is, can you break the task?
Yeah. And I love it when it's so much better when the person can figure out if it's either like a pre-made loophole that you can work through, or when they just break it, like you're saying, to make their own loophole within the task. And it's like, well, yeah, I could move the spot that's on the ground. I just said I can't get off the spot, right? It's like, well, shit, you're right. We didn't glue it to the cement, so if you can move it, you got it.
I love on season 15 when when Frankie finds these like gold paddles, and you walk up with gold shoes on the grass, finds these gold paddles and he puts them on, and they're by the end they're debating whether or not that counts. And Alex is like, well, if he's disqualified, then May is both the fastest and the slowest. It gets 9 points. And everybody's like, yep, gold shoes. Those were hella gold.
And they're like racquetball rackets or something like that. He's like, well, they're snowshoes.
Snowshoes.
Like, that's what they use in Alaska. Come on now. These are just Alaskan shoes. It's like, shit, that's true. That's funny.
I can't wait for you to get to season 7 because that, I think, is got to be the best season. Yeah. And it's because, like, it's just off the hinge. James Acaster, which is a comedian from UK, you got it. He's chaotic good, right? I mentioned that before, but he's punk. He's an asshole in all the right ways, and so he's just great. And then you've got one of them that is literally a friend of Greg, who keeps showing half naked pictures of Greg everywhere, and just it's so oh my god, it's such a crazy season, and that's nuts. Nice. That's a good one.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
All right, guys, that's it for us this week. Thanks for hanging out with us. Again, let us know on social media what you guys think of X-Men and the new Rick and Morty voice. All the different questions we want to hear from you guys. And we'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.